The text message arrived at 10 p.m. I was packing the last gifts for their new housewarming party. Mom, Paula says don't come tomorrow. You're not invited. I read those words once, twice, 3 times. I felt my heart collapse like a house of cards. I had just transferred the last $3,000 for the dining room furniture. For 6 months, I had been paying for every brick, every window, every detail of that house they now forbade me from entering. I just stood there, in my living room, surrounded by boxes and gifts wrapped in gold paper. I felt the weight of my 69 years like never before. The phone trembled in my arthritic hands as I reread the message, the one that shattered a mother's dream. But this story doesn't end there. This is the story of how a woman my age got her dignity back and taught 2 opportunists that respect isn't bought. It's earned. And when it's lost, the consequences can be devastating. Because what they didn't know is that a betrayed mother can be more dangerous than any enemy. And I had something in my hands that would make them beg for my forgiveness. It all started 8 months ago. Liam came to my house with that shy smile I've known since he was a boy. He sat on the couch where I had comforted him 1,000 times during his childhood. He told me about his dream of owning his own home. "Mom, we found the perfect house," he said, his eyes shining with excitement. "But we need help with the down payment just this once. I promise we'll handle the rest ourselves." His words always melted my heart. Liam was my only son, my most precious treasure. I had raised that boy alone after his father abandoned us when he was just 5. For 38 years, it had been just him and me against the world. I worked double shifts as a nurse. I saved every dollar. I denied myself 1,000 little things to give him everything he needed. "Of course, sweetheart." I answered without a second thought. "Tell me how much you need." The next few days were a whirlwind of hope and excitement. We visited the house together, a beautiful 2-story construction with a yard and a garage. I imagined myself making family dinners in that big kitchen, playing with my future grandchildren in that sunny yard. Paula was there that day, glowing in her red dress, measuring spaces and talking about curtains and decorations. She smiled sweetly at me and called me Mom, with that sugary voice that I found so charming back then. "Josephine, this house will be perfect for starting our family," she said, taking my hands. "You are going to be the happiest grandmother in the world here." Those words filled me with such pure joy. I felt like I was floating. I was finally going to have the big family I had always dreamed of. I was finally going to see my son happy and settled. That same week, I signed the first check for $15,000 for the down payment. It was half of my life savings, but I did it with a smile on my face. "It's an investment in our future mom," Liam assured me, hugging me tight. "When we have kids, you'll be the most present grandmother in the world. This house will be full of love." Over the following weeks, I became a fundamental part of the process. I woke up excited every morning, checking my phone for messages from Liam about the construction progress. I visited the site religiously every Wednesday and Saturday. I loved watching those walls go up, the walls that would shelter my family. I brought cold water for the builders and spent hours talking with the foreman, Mr. Johnson, about every detail. "Your son is very lucky to have a mom like you," Mr. Johnson would tell me as we reviewed the plans. "Not every mother makes such a huge sacrifice." His words filled me with pride. I was building more than a house. I was building my family's future, the legacy I would leave for them. I made every bank transfer with love. When they asked for money for the bathroom tiles, I was there for the aluminum windows, for the living room floor, for the electrical installation. I always answered yes, without hesitation. It was my way of showing them how much I loved them, how much I believed in their future together. I spent my nights knitting tablecloths and embroidering pillowcases for their new home. Every stitch was a prayer, every design a blessing for their happiness. My house filled up with gifts I bought for them week after week, a new set of pots, Egyptian cotton sheets, a big screen TV for the main living room. Everything was perfect. Everything was going according to my most beautiful dreams. Until that night. The night of the text message. The first signs of contempt started so subtly, I thought it was my imagination. Paula started to change with me after I paid the second installment of $20,000 for the framework. "Oh, Josephine, good, you're here," she'd say when I showed up at the site. But her smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. "We were just talking about the finishes. Of course, you don't really understand these modern things, do you?" I swallowed the comment with a forced smile. After all, it was normal for a young woman to have different ideas about decorating. I just wanted them to be happy. But the humiliations became more frequent and more cruel. One Saturday, I arrived with a homemade lunch for all the workers, just like I had for weeks. Paula greeted me with an annoyed look on her face. "Josephine, we already ordered food for them. Your homemade food might upset their stomachs. It's better if you don't bother anymore." The builders looked at me with pity as I put away my containers, full of the stew and rice I had been cooking since 5 in the morning. I felt my cheeks burn with shame. "Okay, dear," I murmured. "I just wanted to help." "You already help enough with the money," Paula answered with a laugh that sounded like broken glass. "That's what we need you for." Liam was standing right there. He saw the whole thing, and he didn't say a single word in my defense. My own son. Let me be humiliated by that woman without lifting a finger. That night, I cried until I had no tears left. Things got worse when they decided to have a dinner party to show friends the progress on the house. I found out by chance when I overheard Liam on the phone. "Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Paula cooked for everyone. It's going to be a perfect night." "Can I come?" I asked him, with the hope of a little girl. Liam looked at me like I had said something ridiculous. "Mom, it's an intimate thing, just for young people. You wouldn't be comfortable there." "But it's the house I'm paying for," I whispered, feeling my voice break. "That's exactly why. We don't want you to feel obligated to come. It's better if you rest at home." I was alone that night, watching from my window as the lights of their future house shone, filled with laughter and music. From my kitchen, I could hear the echo of the celebration I had financed, but didn't belong to. The next day, I went to visit them with a tray of homemade pastries. Hoping to hear about the party, Paula answered the door in her pajamas, looking hungover and annoyed. "Oh, Josephine, you're here so early. We are super tired from last night." "How was everything?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Perfect. Everyone was fascinated with our house." "Well, with my house," she corrected herself with a venomous smile. "It's just that I was the one who chose every single detail. You know, the colors, the finishes, everything. I have very good taste in decoration." Every word was a stab straight to my heart. That house she called hers had come from my entire life savings. "Of course, dear. You have excellent taste," I managed to reply. "Oh, and yesterday I met my friend Danielle's mom, a super elegant lady, so polite. Nothing like, well, you understand. One has to keep up appearances. Right?" The message was clear. I was not up to her social standards. I, who had worked like a mule for 40 years to give my son a decent education, was not refined enough for her social circle. That afternoon, driving back to my house, I felt something I had never experienced before. Hatred. Hatred for my own daughter-in-law. A hatred that burned in my chest and made me grip the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The final straw came on Liam's birthday. I had planned an intimate family dinner at my house, just as we had done for 38 years. I bought his favorite cake, decorated the living room with balloons, cooked his favorite meal from childhood. Liam arrived an hour late, with Paula hanging off his arm like an elegant leech. "Mom, everything looks nice," he said distractedly, constantly checking his phone. During dinner, Paula couldn't stop talking about the plans for her house, the parties they were going to throw, the social life they were going to have. I was invisible, at my own table. "Oh, Liam, remember my parents are coming tomorrow to see the house. They have to see how well I married," Paula said, winking at him. "Your parents are coming?" I asked innocently. "Of course. They're going to be part of the family. They are educated, classy people. They'll know how to appreciate what we've achieved." "And when can I see the finished house?" I asked, my heart in my throat. Paula and Liam exchanged a look, one I couldn't decipher at the time, but which I understand perfectly now. "Mom, we'll let you know when it's ready," Liam answered evasively. "But it's almost done." "Right? I've invested $85,000 so far." "Exactly," Paula said with a smile that made my blood run cold. "You have been an excellent, how should I put it, silent investor." The word silent echoed in my head like a funeral bell. That's when I understood my place in all of this. Pay and shut up. Finance and disappear. That night, after they left, I sat in my living room, looking at the pictures of baby Liam I have on the coffee table. When did I lose my son? When did I stop mattering to him? But the worst was yet to come. The breaking point came in the cruelest way possible, at what should have been the happiest moment of my life. It was Friday night when I got the call that would change everything forever. Liam sounded strangely nervous, like when he was a kid and had broken something important. "Mom, I need to ask you for one last favor," he began, with that voice I knew so well. "The house is almost ready, but we're $5,000 short for the final finishes." My heart leaped with joy. I was finally going to see my house. Well, their house, but the one I had built with so much love. "Of course. Sweetheart, when is the housewarming? What can I bring? Should I make the chili you love so much?" There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Too long. "Mom, about that. Paula wants the housewarming to be something very intimate. Just the two of us." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. "What do you mean?" "Just the two of you, Liam. I paid for that house. I built it brick by brick with my savings." "I know, Mom, and we appreciate it so much. But Paula says she wants our first day in the house to be magical, just for us. You know how women are with these romantic things." Tears started rolling down my cheeks. I couldn't control them. "I can't even see it. I can't even see where my $90,000 went." "Of course you can, Mom, but later. When we're all settled in, give me a week." I hung up the phone, my soul crushed. But I still had hope. 1 week. I could wait 1 more week. That night, I transferred the last $5,000 from my banking app. I watched as my savings account became practically empty. $95,000. My whole life, summarized in one electronic transfer to 2 ungrateful brats. A week went by, then 2. By the 3rd weekend, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove to the address I had memorized like my own birthday, and there it was. Beautiful, immaculate, with a yard that looked like it was out of a magazine. My house, the house I had paid for, and had never set foot in. I rang the doorbell with trembling hands. Paula opened the door, dressed like a queen in her castle, wearing an emerald green dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Oh, Josephine, what a surprise," she said, blocking the entrance with her body. "We didn't know you were coming." "I wanted to see the house," I said in a small voice. "It's been ready for 3 weeks." "Oh, yes. It's just that we've been super busy getting everything settled. The house is still a disaster." Over her shoulder, I could see the perfectly decorated living room with furniture that I had paid for, shining, like a showroom. "It looks beautiful, Paula. Can I please come in, just for a moment?" Her face changed completely. The mask of sweetness fell off like old paint. "Honestly, Josephine, now is not a good time. We have important guests coming in a little while." "Important guests?" "Yes, Liam's bosses. It's a super important business dinner for his career. You understand? We can't have any interruptions." The word interruptions pierced me like a spear. I was an interruption. In the house I had paid for. "I just want to see my..." I want to see the house for 5 minutes. Another day, Josephine, when we don't have social commitments. And she closed the door in my face. I just stood there, on the lawn I had financed, looking through the windows I had bought, as Paula closed the curtains so I couldn't see inside. I went back to my car, shaking with rage and humiliation. But the worst was not over. That night, from my house, I could see the party lights, the elegant cars arriving one after another, the laughter carrying all the way to my window. At 11 at night, my curiosity got the better of my dignity. I drove back over there and parked on the corner, like a criminal, spying on my own house. I saw through the lit windows how Paula greeted the guests like the perfect hostess, how Liam made a toast with champagne in glasses I had bought, how everyone admired the decoration and the finishes that had come from my life savings. And then I heard something that broke my soul in half. A group of men was in the yard, smoking cigars, and their voices carried clearly. All the way to my car, Liam, brother, congratulations. This house is incredible. How did you afford it so young? Well, I had some family help. My son answered with an uncomfortable laugh. Did your dad help you? No, my dad died years ago. It was my mom. You're so lucky. My old lady would never give me a dime. And then I heard Paula's voice, clear as crystal. Oh, please, don't say it was luck. Liam deserved it. Besides, his mom, she has nothing else to spend her money on. She lives alone. She has no social life. Why would she hoard all that money? The laughter that followed was like knives in my chest. It's true, Paula continued. Old people just hoard money to feel important. At least this way, we gave those savings a purpose. I felt something break inside me, not my heart. That was already broken. Something deeper, more fundamental. My faith in unconditional love, my belief in family, my trust that being a good mother had any value in this world. There, sitting in my old car, watching them celebrate in the house I had built with my sacrifices, I made the most important decision of my life. I was done being the old fool who gave money to feel loved. It was time for Paula and Liam to meet the real Josephine. That morning, I couldn't sleep a wink. I stayed up in my kitchen, with a cold cup of tea in my hands, feeling every word Paula said repeat in my mind like a broken record. Old people just hoard money to feel important. She has nothing else to spend her money on. She has no social life. At 5 in the morning, I made a decision that would change my life forever. I put on my best clothes, fixed my hair, and drove straight to the bank. Good morning, Mrs. Josephine. Victor, my account manager of many years, greeted me. How are you? Victor. I need to review all the transfers I've made in the last 8 months to my son Liam's account. His expression turned serious when he saw the determination in my eyes. Of course, ma'am. Let me print the entire history. When I saw those papers, when I held the physical evidence of my generosity in my hands, I felt a mix of pride and nausea I had never experienced. 163 transfers, from the $15,000 down payment to the last $5,000 from a week ago, a grand total of $95,000. Victor, I said, with a calmness that surprised me, I need you to help me with something very important. That same afternoon, while Liam and Paula were surely sleeping off their party hangover, I was executing my plan. First, I called the furniture store where they had bought the dining set. Good morning, this is Josephine. I'm the woman who paid for the 8-chair dining set for Liam's account. I need to cancel the payment and have the furniture picked up. Ma'am? But it was already delivered 2 weeks ago. I know, but the payment came from my account without my authorization. I have the right to cancel it. The manager got nervous. Ma'am, we would have to speak with your son to confirm. My son didn't pay a penny for that furniture. The money came from my bank account. I have all the receipts right here. Are you going to pick up the furniture? Or do I have to call my lawyer? In 1 hour. I had confirmation. The dining set would be picked up the next day. Next, I called the appliance supplier. Yes, I want to cancel the purchase of the washer, dryer, and refrigerator that I paid for Liam's account. The same conversation, the same nervousness from the supplier, the same result. By 6 in the evening, I had canceled 17 major purchases: furniture, appliances, the air conditioning system, even the big screen TV they had used for their party last night. But that was just the beginning. The second day of my silent revenge was even more satisfying. I called the main contractor, Mr. Johnson, the one who had always treated me with respect. "Mr. Johnson, this is Josephine, Liam's mom." "Mrs. Josephine, how are you? Is everything okay with the house? Mr. Johnson, I need to ask you something very important. The payments for the construction. What account did they come from?" "Well, from yours, ma'am. You've paid for everything since day one. Your son only signed the papers, but the money has always been yours. Do you have copies of all the receipts, where my name appears as the person paying?" "Of course, ma'am. That's what receipts are for, right? Mr. Johnson, I need you to do me the biggest favor of my life." That afternoon, Mr. Johnson arrived at my house with a box full of documents, invoices, receipts, contracts, all with my name and my signature as the sole person responsible for the payments. "Mrs. Josephine," he said with concern, "is everything all right? Did something happen with your son?" For the first time in days, I genuinely smiled. "Mr. Johnson, everything is going to be more than all right. I just need one last favor from you." The third day, I decided to act directly. I drove to the house at 10 in the morning, when I knew Liam would be at work. Paula opened the door in her pajamas, with that annoyed look. "Oh, Josephine, you're here again. What do you need now?" "Good morning, Paula. I'm here to talk to you about something very important. Does Liam need more money?" The question made me laugh, a bitter laugh that came from the depths of my soul. "No, dear. On the contrary. I'm here to talk about all the money I've already given." Her expression changed immediately. For the first time since I met her, I saw a flash of fear in her eyes. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Of course you do. I'm talking about the $95,000 that came out of my bank account to pay for this house." "Well, yes, you helped us a lot. We appreciate it." "You appreciate me. You appreciate me by banning me from the house I paid for. You appreciate me by telling your friends I'm an old woman with no social life, who has nothing better to spend her money on." The color drained from her face, as if she had seen a ghost. I never said that." "Paula, dear, there's something you need to learn about women of my generation. We know how to listen, and we know how to remember every single word." I stepped closer to her, with the calm of someone holding all the winning cards. "But don't worry, I came to solve your problem." "What problem?" "The problem of having to deal with an old woman with no social life, like me." I took a large envelope full of documents from my purse. "Here are the copies of all the receipts, all the transfers, all the proof that I paid for this house." And I took out another envelope. "And here, you have the legal documentation my lawyer prepared yesterday." Her hands trembled as she took the papers. "What is this?" "It's very simple. Paula, as you said yourself, old people hoard money to feel important. Well, it turns out I want to feel important by getting back every single cent I put into this house." "That's impossible. The house is already in Liam's name." "Oh, dear. You don't know how to read. The house is in Liam's name, but with a huge mortgage that he will never be able to pay on his salary. And it turns out I have all the documents that prove I was the one who paid for everything." I watched her read the documents, her eyes growing wider and wider with terror. "What do you want?" "I want to be paid back, everything, with interest." "We don't have that kind of money." "I know. That's why I'm going to give you 2 options." I sat down on her sofa, as if it were my house, because legally, it still was. "First option," I said, getting comfortable on the couch I had paid for. You return the $95,000 to me in 30 days, and we forget this whole thing." Paula stayed quiet, calculating. She knew perfectly well it was impossible. "Second option," I continued, with a smile that would freeze blood. "I execute my legal rights as the primary creditor of this property." "What does that mean?" "It means, my dear Paula, that I am going to foreclose on the house." She collapsed onto the armchair as if her legs had been cut out from under her. "That can't be legal." "You know what's not legal, dear. Taking money from a person under false pretenses. That's called family fraud, and it's a serious crime." I took out my phone and dialed a number I had ready. "Mr. Johnson." "Yes, it's Josephine. I've already spoken with the lady. You can proceed with what we discussed." I hung up and watched Paula stare at me with terror in her eyes. "Proceed with what?" "Oh, didn't I tell you Mr. Johnson is coming in 1 hour with his team to disconnect the basic utilities? Power, water, gas. It's all in my name. Did you know that—" It was a lie, but she didn't know that. "You can't do this to us." "I can't, Paula. Let me explain something you clearly don't understand. When an older person invests their entire life into something, they don't do it so two ungrateful young people can take advantage of their kindness." I got up and walked around the living room, touching every piece of furniture, every decoration. "See this TV, $5,000 from my account. This dining table, $3,500 of my dollars. These elegant paintings, $200 that came from my savings." Paula started to cry, but I was already beyond compassion. "Please, Josephine, we can fix this. Let me talk to Liam." "What for? So he can send me another text message saying I'm not invited to my own house." I took out my phone again and showed her the screen. "You know what I did last night? Paula, I hired a private investigator." Her crying intensified. "What for?" "To investigate all the properties and bank accounts that you and my son have. It turns out Liam has a savings account with $28,000 that he never mentioned to me." It was another lie, but it worked perfectly. "Furthermore, it turns out you have a new car that cost $15,000. Where did that money come from, Paula?" "That car. My dad gave me that car." "How strange. Because according to my investigator, the car is being paid for on credit from Liam's bank account. In other words, with money I gave him for the house." Paula turned as white as paper. That's not true. Do you want us to call the bank right now to confirm?" Just then, Liam arrived home from work. We heard the car park and his footsteps approaching the door. "Perfect," I said, standing up. "Now we can clear everything up as a family." Liam walked in whistling, happy as could be, until he saw the two of us in the living room with faces like we were at a funeral. "What's going on here?" "Ask your wife," I answered coldly. Paula ran to him, crying hysterically. "Liam, your mom has gone crazy. She says she's going to take the house from us. She's going to foreclose." "Mom, what's happening?" For the first time in 8 months, I looked my son directly in the eyes. Without unconditional love, I looked at him for what he was, a grown man who had betrayed his mother. "What's happening, Liam, is that I'm tired of being the old fool who pays for everything and doesn't even deserve an invitation to her own house." "Mom, but you misunderstood. What did I misunderstand?" "Exactly. Did I misunderstand when your wife told your friends I'm an old woman with no social life? Did I misunderstand when you closed the door in my face last Saturday?" Liam looked at Paula with reproach. "You told her that—" "No. Well, not like that. I just—" "Paula, what exactly did you say?" "Liam, it doesn't matter what I said. What matters is that your mom has lost her mind and wants to take our house. Our house." I repeated the word like it was poison. "Paula, this house isn't yours. This house is mine. I paid for every brick, every window, every nail in here." But, Mom, you gave it to us. I gave you a $95,000 house when... Exactly. Did I give you such a generous gift, Liam? Well, you didn't say it was a gift, but... Exactly. I didn't say it was a gift. I said I was going to help you, because I thought you wanted me in your lives. But it turns out you only wanted my money. I took all the documents out of my bag and put them on the dining table that I had paid for. Here are all the receipts, all the transfers, all the proof. $95,000. That came from my account to finance your luxury life. Liam took the papers with trembling hands. Mom, we'll pay you back. Everything. But we need time. Time, Liam. I've waited 8 months for you to treat me with a minimum of respect. How much time did you give me to see this house zero? We can fix it. Mom, we'll invite you to dinner tomorrow. You can come over whenever you want. Oh, now I can come over. Now that you know I have the legal power to take everything from you. Paula was still crying on the sofa, but I didn't feel a shred of compassion for her anymore. Liam, I'm going to be very clear with you. You have exactly 30 days to pay me back everything you owe me, with interest. How much would it be with interest? $110,000. Mom, that's impossible. It was also impossible for me to save $95,000 working as a nurse, but I did it, out of love. Now, you're going to have to do it, out of survival. I walked to the door, but before leaving, I turned around one last time. Oh, and Paula tomorrow. They are coming to pick up the dining set, the washer, the dryer, and the TV. Since I paid for them, I get to decide what to do with them. You can't do that. Of course I can. And I'm going to. I walked out of that house feeling more powerful than I had in years. But the real war was just beginning. The next few days were the most intense of my life. I woke up every morning with an energy I hadn't felt in decades, as if I had recovered a part of myself I thought was lost forever. The first blow landed exactly as I had promised. At 8 in the morning the next day, the furniture store trucks arrived to pick up the dining set. From my car, parked on the corner, I watched Paula run out in her pajamas to stop them. Wait, there must be a mistake. No mistake, ma'am, the driver replied. The owner of the furniture canceled the purchase. We have orders to pick it up. But it's already paid for. Yes, but not by you. Mrs. Josephine paid with her card, and she has the right to cancel. Watching Paula run after the truck like a crazy person gave me a satisfaction I had never experienced. Finally, the consequences had arrived at her door. 2 hours later, they came for the washer and dryer, then for the TV. One by one, all the luxuries they had enjoyed thanks to my money disappeared from their lives. At 3 in the afternoon, my phone rang. It was Liam, and he sounded desperate. Mom, please, stop this. Paula is hysterical. The neighbors are watching. You're embarrassing us. Oh, now you're worried about being embarrassed, Liam. Where was that concern when your wife was humiliating me in front of your friends? Mom, we can talk about this like adults. All this show isn't necessary. A show? Son, this isn't a show. This is justice. Okay. What do you want us to do? For the first time in 8 months, my son was speaking to me with respect, not out of love, but out of fear. But at least it was respect. I want you to come to my house tonight, both of you, at 7 o'clock sharp. What for? To negotiate the payment terms for my money. That night, I prepared everything as if it were a business meeting. I set the dining table with organized documents, a calculator, and a voice recorder I had bought that afternoon. Just so everything is clear, I explained when they arrived. This conversation will be recorded. Paula looked terrible. She had been crying all day, and it was obvious she hadn't slept. Liam looked nervous, but was trying to keep his composure. Mom, I think you're exaggerating all this. Exaggerating, Liam. Do you think it's exaggerating for a 69-year-old woman to want her life savings back? Do you think it's exaggerating to want respect after paying $95,000? Mom, we respect you. You respect me. Was closing the door in my face. Respect was banning me from the house I paid for. Respect. Paula finally spoke, her voice trembling. Josephine, I apologize for what I said. I was nervous that night. I said things I shouldn't have. Things like what? Exactly. The things about you not having a social life. And what else? That old people hoard money to feel important. And what else, Paula? Liam looked at her in horror. What else did you say? Paula completely broke down. I said you had nothing else to spend your money on, that you didn't have a life of your own. The silence that followed was so heavy, you could cut it with a knife. Liam, I finally said, did you know your wife said that? No, Mom, I swear, I didn't know. And what would you have done if you had known? I would have told her to apologize to you immediately. And would an apology have been enough to erase that humiliation? Liam stayed quiet, because he knew the answer. Fine, I continued. Now let's get to the practical terms. I put a sheet of paper on the table that I had prepared. Option number 1, you pay me $110,000 in 30 days. All or nothing. Mom, that's impossible. We don't have that kind of money. Option number 2, you pay me in monthly installments of $3,000 for 4 years. With interest, that would be $144,000 total. Paula groaned like she'd been stabbed. Option number 3, you transfer the ownership of the house to my name, and you two stay there, paying me a monthly rent of $1,500. Rent in our own house. In my house, Paula. It was never your house. I paid for it. But Liam is your son. How can you do this to your own son? How could my own son allow his wife to humiliate me that way? Liam stood up and started pacing. Isn't there a fourth option? Yes, there is a fourth option. Their eyes lit up with hope. I execute my legal rights. I sue for family fraud. I foreclose on the house. I sell it. I get my money back. And you two end up on the street. The hope vanished from their faces. Mom, that would be destroying your own family. Liam, you destroyed this family. The day you decided my money was more important than my presence. How much time do we have to decide? 48 hours. And if we can't afford any of the options, then you will meet the Josephine you didn't want to know. That night, after they left, I sat in my living room feeling stronger than ever. For the first time in 8 months, I was in control. But the next day, I got a call that would change the whole game. It was my sister, Sarah, from out of state. Josephine, are you okay? Liam called me crying. He says you've gone crazy. Crazy, Sarah? For the first time in my life, I am completely sane. What's going on, sister? I told her everything, every detail, every humiliation, every cent wasted. You know what, Josephine? What? I am so proud of you for finally finding your strength. Really. Sister, for years, I've watched you sacrifice everything for that boy. It's about time he learned what you are worth. You think I'm doing the right thing. I think you're doing what you should have done a long time ago. That conversation gave me the strength I needed for what was coming, because Paula and Liam didn't know that I had one more ace up my sleeve. On the second day of the deadline, I gave them. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. First Liam, then Paula, then Liam again. But I didn't answer a single call. I wanted them to feel the desperation that I had felt for months. At 6 p.m, when I finally decided to answer, Liam's voice sounded broken. Mom, please, we need more time. Time is up, Liam. But Mom, we've been looking for loans, talking to banks. Nobody will lend us that amount. And why do you think that is, son? Because we don't have any collateral. Exactly. Because you two have nothing of your own. Everything you have came from my savings. I heard Paula crying in the background. Tell your wife to stop crying. Tears don't pay debts. Mom, please. We'll do anything. Whatever you want. Anything. Yes, anything. Perfect. Then tonight, you are coming to my house to sign the property transfer contract. What contract? The contract where you transfer the house to my name and agree to pay me monthly rent. But Mom... But what, Liam? Didn't you say you'd do anything? That night, they arrived with a lawyer, a young kid Paula had found, probably thinking he could intimidate me. Mrs. Josephine, he said, with an air of superiority, I understand there's a family misunderstanding here. There is no misunderstanding, young man. There are $95,000 that came out of my account, and I want them back. But ma'am, when you help a family member, it's legally considered a gift. I laughed out loud, a laugh that made everyone uncomfortable. A gift? Who told you it was a gift? Well, it's normal between parents and children. Young man, let me explain something to you. I worked 40 years as a nurse. I know the law better than you think. I took a thick folder from my bag that I had prepared. Here is the family loan agreement that my son signed 8 months ago. The lawyer turned pale. Liam and Paula looked at each other in horror. What contract? Paula asked. The one your husband signed when he received the first payment of $15,000. Liam, you signed a contract. I thought it was just a formality. You didn't tell me you signed a contract. Paula, you thought what? You idiot? Watching them fight with each other gave me immense satisfaction. Quiet, I said, with authority. The lawyer is reviewing the documents. The kid read and reread the contract, his face grim. Ma'am, this document is perfectly legal. Your son committed to repaying all the borrowed money within a maximum period of 2 years. And it's been 8 months, right? Yes. Ma'am, how much have they paid on the loan? According to these documents, $0. Correct. They have been in default since the first month. Paula jumped up like a wild animal. This is a trap. You tricked Liam. I tricked my son. Paula, your husband is a 40-year-old man. Can't he read? But you're his mother. Mothers aren't supposed to charge their children. You're right. Mothers don't charge their children. But I'm not just a mother anymore. I am a creditor. The lawyer closed the folder with resignation. Mrs. Josephine, legally, you hold all the rights. You can proceed with foreclosure immediately. Thank you, young man. But I'm a generous woman. I'm going to give them one last chance. I took another document from my bag. This is the property transfer agreement. You give me the house, I cancel the debt, and you can continue living there, paying $500 a month in rent. $500, Paula screamed. That's more than we paid on the mortgage. Paula, dear, you don't pay a mortgage. I paid the mortgage in full. $500 is very cheap for a $95,000 house. Liam took the contract with trembling hands. And if we don't accept, then tomorrow morning, I file the foreclosure lawsuit. In 15 days, you will have to vacate the house. Vacate where will we go? That's not my problem, Paula. You should have thought of that before you humiliated me. The lawyer intervened one last time. Folks, I recommend you accept the proposal. In my opinion, in a lawsuit, you will lose everything. And you'll also have to pay the legal fees. Paula started crying hysterically again. Liam, do something. We can't lose our house. It's not our house. Liam answered in a dead voice. It was never our house. What do you decide, son? Liam looked at me, with eyes I no longer recognized. He wasn't the boy I had raised. He was a defeated man who finally understood the consequences of his actions. We sign or we lose everything. Exactly. And After we sign, what happens to our relationship? That question hit me harder than I expected. For a moment, I felt a pang of pain in my chest. Liam, our relationship changed the day you decided my money was more important than my presence. Is there any way to fix this? Yes, there is one way. Their eyes lit up with hope. What is it? That you accept that you treated your mother badly, that you acknowledge that you used me, and that you promise it will never happen again. I accept all of that, Mom. And Paula? We all turned to look at Paula, who was still crying in her chair. Paula, do you accept that you treated me badly? Yes, she whispered, through her tears. Do you accept that you humiliated me in front of strangers? Yes. And do you promise to apologize to me properly? Paula stood up and walked toward me. She knelt in front of my chair like a punished child. Josephine, I ask for your forgiveness with all my heart. I behaved horribly to you. You didn't deserve the way I treated you. Seeing that proud woman kneeling in front of me gave me a sense of power I had never experienced. And do you promise to treat me with respect from now on? I promise. Perfect, I said, standing up. Then you can sign the contract. But I had one last surprise prepared for them after they signed the transfer agreement. With Paula's tears still wet on her cheeks, I sat in my favorite armchair, watching them gather the documents that had just made me the legal owner of the house that had always been mine. Is it done? Liam asked in a defeated voice. Almost, I replied with a mysterious smile. There's one more thing. The three of them looked at me suspiciously. The young lawyer nervously checked his watch, clearly wanting to leave. What else is there, Mom? You need to know the whole truth. I took an envelope from my bag that I had kept hidden this whole time. An envelope that would change everything they thought they knew about this situation. You see, during these last few weeks, I've learned a lot of things about you two, things that have surprised me very much. Paula tensed up in her seat. What kind of things? For example, that the new car you're driving, Paula, wasn't a gift from your dad, like you said. It was a gift. No, dear, it was a loan, and it turns out you haven't paid a single monthly payment. The color drained from her face. How do you know that? Because your father, Mr. Davis, called me 3 days ago. The silence that followed was deafening. Yes, Paula, your father. He sought me out because he was worried about you. Apparently, you've been lying to him for months. That's not true. You told him Liam had a great job, that you could easily cover the car payments, but it turns out you're 4 months behind. Liam turned to his wife in disbelief. Paula, what is my mom talking about? Mr. Davis is so worried. I continued, that he's considering taking the car back next week. Paula, is that true? Liam, I thought we could solve it. With what money? With more of my mom's money. No, I had a plan. What plan? Paula broke down completely. I thought we could ask your mom for another small loan to get caught up on the car. The laugh that escaped my throat was so loud, even the lawyer jumped. Another loan. After everything that's happened. It was just for the car. Paula, do you think I'm an idiot? No, ma'am. Because it seems like you think I'm just a money-making machine for you. I took another document from the envelope. Do you know what else I discovered? No one answered. That you two were investigating how much money I have in the bank. Liam turned pale. Mom, that's not... Liam, Victor from the bank, told me you came in asking about my accounts 2 weeks ago. I just wanted to know if you had enough money to live comfortably. Or did you want to know how much more you could get out of me? No, Mom, it wasn't like that. Then why did you ask specifically about my investments and my retirement account? The silence filled the room again. Do you know what the saddest part of all this is? They both looked at me, not daring to answer. It's that I would have given you everything, voluntarily. If you had treated me with love and respect, I would have been the most generous mother in the world. Mom, you still can be. No, Liam, not anymore. I stood up and walked to the window, turning my back to them. Do you know what my dream was when I started paying for that house? No, Paula whispered. My dream was to have a big family, to spend Christmases together, to take care of your children when they were born, to be the grandmother who makes homemade meals every Sunday. My voice cracked, just a little, but I continued. I dreamed of my grandchildren running in that yard I paid for. I dreamed of teaching them how to cook in that kitchen I financed. You can still have all of that, Liam said, moving closer. No, I can't anymore. I turned to face them. Because you killed that Josephine. The naive Josephine, who believed that family love was unconditional. We can start over. Liam, do you think I will ever be able to forget your wife's words? Do you think I'll be able to forget that you closed the door on me, to the house I paid for? With time, maybe. There isn't enough time in the world to erase that humiliation. I took the last sheet from the envelope, but I want you to know this isn't revenge. This is justice. What is that? The lawyer asked. It's a donation I made yesterday to the City Association for Senior Women. A donation. $50,000 to help women my age who have been mistreated by their own families. Paula groaned as if she'd been hit. $50,000. Yes, half of what you owe me, but which you'll never be able to pay back. Mom, that money is going to do some good. It's going to help women who, like me, have been betrayed by the people they loved the most. And what about us? You are going to learn to live with the consequences of your decisions. I walked to the front door, indicating it was time for them to leave. The contract is signed. The house is mine. You can stay and pay rent or find another place to live. And our family relationship. What relationship, Liam? A true family relationship is built on love, respect, and mutual consideration. What we had was a relationship of financial convenience. But I'm your son. Yes, you are my son. And that's why this hurts more than anything. What you did. Will you ever forgive me? The question broke my heart, but I had already made my decision. Liam, forgiveness isn't asked for, it's earned. How can I earn it? By proving to me, over years, not months, that you have truly changed the way you see me. And in the meantime, you will pay $1,500 a month in rent to live in my house. I walked them to the door. Before they left, Paula turned around one last time. Josephine, do you think we can ever be a real family? I looked her straight in the eye, without hatred, but without love either. Paula, you had the chance to have the best mother-in-law in the world. You chose to have a landlord. And I closed the door. 6 months after that night, the night that changed my life forever, I am sitting on the terrace of my new beach house, watching the sunrise over the ocean as I write these lines in my journal. Yes, my new house. Because it turns out, a 69-year-old woman can start over when she finds the courage to do it. After closing that door, after watching Liam and Paula drive away with the faces of two people who had just lost a war, I stood alone in my living room, feeling something I hadn't experienced in decades, peace. For the first time in 8 months, I slept through the entire night. I didn't wake up thinking about bank transfers, or humiliations, or cruel words. I woke up feeling like I had been born again. The first few days were strange. My phone didn't ring constantly, asking for money. I didn't have to check my bank account every morning to see how much I had transferred. I didn't have to endure conversations where I was made to feel invisible. But the most beautiful part was discovering who Josephine was, when she wasn't being the unconditional mother to an ungrateful son. It turns out, I am an intelligent, strong woman with a lot of life left to live. The first week after the contract, Sarah came to visit me from out of state. My sister, who for years had watched me sacrifice, without getting anything in return, arrived with a proposal that would change my life. Josephine, do you remember that house we inherited from Mom in Florida? Of course, the one that's been abandoned for years. What do you think if we fix it up together and live there, you and me? Two single sisters enjoying our golden years. The idea excited me so much. I started to cry, but this time they were tears of joy. Really, Sarah? Sister, for years, I've watched you live for your son. It's time for you to live for yourself. 2 weeks later, I sold my house in the city, the same house where I had raised Liam, where I had cried over his father, where I had saved every penny to give him a better future. With the money from the sale, plus the rent payments that Liam and Paola deposited religiously every month, I had enough to renovate the beach house and live comfortably for the rest of my life. The house in Florida became my refuge. Sarah and I worked together, planting a garden, painting walls, decorating every corner with love. But this time, it was self-love. In the mornings, we walk on the beach, collect seashells, eat fresh fruit on the terrace. In the afternoons, I read my favorite novels, while Sarah paints watercolors of the sunset. On weekends, our house fills up with new friends, women our age who, like us, have decided that life doesn't end at 60. Letitia, a 72-year-old widow who stopped speaking to her children after they treated her like a free maid. Danielle, 65, who got divorced after 40 years of marriage because her husband took her for granted. We all have similar stories. We have all been the unconditional givers, the ones who sacrifice, the ones who put everyone else before ourselves. But we have also all found the strength to say, enough. On Sundays, we host gatherings, where we invite other women from the area to share their experiences. We have helped dozens of women find their self-worth, set boundaries, and demand respect. My story has become famous in town. The lady who took the house back from her son. That's how they know me, but not with ridicule, with admiration, because it turns out there are many mothers who have gone through the same thing, but who didn't have the courage to act. 3 months ago, a woman, 58 years old, came to our Sunday meeting, crying. Her son and daughter-in-law had convinced her to sell her house, to help them with their business, and now they had her living in a tiny little room while they enjoyed a life of luxury. "What can I do?" she asked me. "I have nothing left." "You have the most important thing," I replied. "You have the experience of learning a very expensive lesson." I told her my full story, how I had gotten my money back, my dignity, my power, how I had turned my pain into strength. 2 weeks later, that woman had hired a lawyer and was suing her son for family fraud. 1 month later, she had her house back. Now, she's one of our best friends, and her story inspires other women who arrive every Sunday looking for help. A month ago, I received a call I wasn't expecting. It was Liam. "Mom, how are you?" "I'm very well, son. How are you?" We're fine. Paying the rent every month, as we agreed." "I'm glad to hear that." "Mom, I wanted to ask you if we could visit you sometime. Paola wants to apologize to you in person." The question made me smile, not with malice, but with a deep sense of peace. "Liam, you can visit me whenever you want, but you will visit me in my house, under my rules, with my respect." "Yes, Mom, we understand." "Do you really understand?" "Son, yes, I understand that we were unfair to you. I understand that we hurt you. And I understand that you have every right to live your life however you want. I'm very happy to hear that. Is there hope for us, Mom? There is always hope, Liam. But hope is built with actions, not with words. What do you need us to do? I need you to understand that I am a whole person, not just your mother, that I have my own life, my own interests, my own dignity. We understand. And I need you to never, ever treat me like a money machine again. It will never happen again. Then, maybe, with time, we can build a new relationship, a relationship where I am respected, valued, and loved for who I am, not for what I can give. That conversation ended with tears on both sides, but they were tears of healing, not of pain. Today, as I write these lines, watching the sun rise over the sea, I feel proud of the woman I have become. I learned that it is never too late to get your dignity back, that self-love isn't selfishness, it's survival, and that sometimes, to save a relationship, you first have to be willing to lose it. My name is Josephine. I am 70 years old, and I finally learned that my value isn't measured by what I can give, but by what I deserve to receive. And I deserve respect, love, and consideration, just like all the women my age who have given so much for so long. To people who took them for granted, if my story can inspire just one woman to find her strength, then every tear, every humiliation, every sleepless night will have been worth it. Because in the end, the best revenge is not to hurt the one who hurt you. The best revenge is to live so well, so fully, so dignified, that you feel like thanking them for giving you the chance to discover how strong you truly are.